Not them comparing Shannon Sharpe to Tracee Ellis Ross. Dear Lord Jesus, help us all. Good grief. Today we're going to talk about another area where misogynoir just presents its ugly little head because they just completely took everything Tracee said right the hell out of context, added some misogynoir at astonishing levels, and then had the nerve to compare her to Shannon Sharpe, the man who has like 2, maybe 3 essay cases out on him. Like, y'all, come on. Be so fucking for real. Be so fucking for real. As a woman who has dated and or messed around with, let me just clarify that, because when I talk about dating, I mean basically in the talking phase, getting to know someone, you're hanging out, but that's different from being in an exclusive committed relationship. And it's also different than just, kind of hanging around and having fun. Those are 3 wildly different categories for me. I have hung around and have fun with younger men. So yeah, today I want to talk about this whole thing with Tracee Ellis Ross and her comments about being a 52-year-old who dates younger men, which is what she said. She did not clarify the age at which she dates. We can only assume that when she says younger men, it means younger than her. It could be someone who was born in 1976, like myself, who's 48. It could be someone who was born in 1970, who's 40. It could be somebody who is 30. Like, she never once said that she dates 19-year-olds. The fact that she's getting compared to Shannon Sharpe is so sad to me. And I really am not going to get too much into Shannon Sharpe because it's just ridiculous, but mostly just as a jumping off point for the way that Tracee got compared to him because of what he's going through right now. But just this dynamic of dating older and younger, and as Black women, like, what are we to do? Especially Black women in my age range. I'm really in Tracee Ellis's age range because I'm 48. She's only 4 years older than me. She's 52. We're right there. Tracee and I could date younger down 10-15 years and above us up 10-15 years and still wind up in the same kind of category of generation of men. So I kind of really relate with her, and I really related to her statements, and I want to talk about that. And I really loathe that we don't embrace nuance when we're talking about the difference between older men dating younger women and older women dating younger men. Because off jump, y'all, we know that when older men date younger women, it is often predatory. Often. And also that whole issue that men of all ages, a certain percentage of them that are troubled, tend to like to enjoy girls who are younger than them. 15-year-old boys liking 11-year-old girls. 18-year-old boys liking 12-year-old girls. 50-year-old men liking 16-year-old girls. We're not going to pretend like that elephant is not in the room with us. The elephant is in the room with us. The percentage of men, and you notice I'm not saying all men, because it's really not. And I really know that for sure. It's not all men. But the percentage of men who like to prey upon and be predatory towards younger women and younger girls is quite high. There's a reason why a legal age was declared for women. You can't touch her legally until she's 18. Why do y'all think that law came into place? Just ask yourself that. Why did that law come into place? Because so many men were trying to take advantage of. And there's whole laws in other countries about how old a girl is old enough to be married. Because as y'all know, child marriage is a thing in other countries. A despicable, horrible, terrible thing. We cannot ignore that when we have this conversation and act like it's the same when older women date younger men. Okay? We not finna do that. So anyway, that's part of it. The other thing that I want to talk about in general is what she said about why she doesn't like to date older men. And I wanted to talk about that too, because I have not dated an older man. I dated one man because I've been out here dating in these dating streets. Recently, I dated a man who was, I forgot how old he was. He's a little bit older. He was either 49 or 50 or 51 or 52. He was like right above me. I'm gonna have to ask him because we're still friends. But really, that's it. Everyone else has been younger. I've been on dating apps, and I did for a while set my age range to 35 to 55. And that's in the range of me being 45 to now. I'm not on dating apps right now, but like when I was on them, I was willing to go as low as 35 and willing to go as high as 55, and just found myself having a lot of issues with the older men in general. Well, also, if we're talking about dating apps, just as a super side note, y'all know that on dating apps, the men who are older on dating apps are, in the nicest way possible, it's really like the bottom of the barrel. Because men who have the kind of things that a well-established woman in my age range would want in a man, they don't probably, I'm assuming, tend to be on dating apps. Now, if you've met an older man who embodied all of this and you met on a dating app, actually comment below and let me know. Okay, let me know, sis. Let me know which app you was on. Okay, because sometimes I look at these older men on dating apps and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you can't even take a good picture. Like, please learn how to find someone to mentor you on the correct angle. Because y'all, they got, okay, for those of you who are listening and not watching, they got the camera at their kneecaps. They're taking a picture and all you can see is like their 3 double chins. I have a double chin. Look, y'all, I have a double chin. Do y'all see me taking pictures from below? No, you take them up here. You take them up here so you can't see the double chin, okay? That's how you take a picture. These older men have not even gotten insight into how to take a picture correctly so that we can actually think, okay, he is attractive. And if they can't do that correctly on a dating app, are they dateable? And I promise you, y'all, I'm not shallow at all, but I'm just using that as, and I really honestly and truly try to have an openness for things that some women might not even have an openness to. Like, I'm okay with short kings. I don't set my height limit to 6 feet. I don't, because I've met so many men under 6 feet who are really good, cool guys. So I'm not shallow. I don't declare they have to make 6 figures. They have to be over 6 feet tall. They have to have perfectly white, straight teeth. Like, I don't even do all of that shit. I really do think there are so many good men who just don't look and fit the part that a lot of women are looking for. So I'm not saying that from a shallow place. I'm saying that as an example. Like, if they can't figure out some small things, just know they're not figuring out the bigger things either. So yeah, I haven't dated older men, but that's not why. I want to go into the real reasons why. That's just a small little example. I want to talk about some of the gender dynamics in general that are preventing women like myself, and let me state, younger women in general too, from wanting to date older men, because more and more younger women are moving away from that older man dynamic, even though those older men got money. And that's a new thing. I want to discuss that as well. And I also want to talk about, what do we as Black women need to do moving forward for those of us who are out here single in these dating slums. Not even these dating streets. We're not even out here in these dating streets, y'all. We are out here in the dating slums. We are slumming it in 2025, okay? Slumming it. It's so hard. It is so hard out here. It's hard to date it's hard to be single in 2025 in these dating streets. But here's one thing that I will say I feel encouraged by. I just saw one of my favorite podcasts is Diary of a CEO podcast. I will link the episode below. But I just saw a recent episode from the behavioral scientist. I forgot her name. She just wrote a book called How to Die Alone. I'll put it right here. And she did an interview with, I forgot his name. Is his name Steven on Diary of a CEO? And he was talking about, why is dating so hard right now? And she brought up how the whole idea of modern dating is just like, as young as recently as from the 1890s. And dating apps in general are really only we're really only 10 years into this whole dating app world. And she was just like, so if you feel like you're kind of bouncing around, you can't figure it out, you're not making good matches, it's a really hard thing to do. She was like, we're really only 10 years into figuring it out. And in some way, just have grace for yourself, because it's not a perfect science. I don't know that if you're single and that's comforting to you, like it was to me, just take heart. It's not you. We're all just trying to figure this out. So first, let's talk about the reluctance of many of us to date older men and why. So Tracee Ellis Ross, she literally said on Michelle Obama's new podcast with her brother, which is so cute, by the way. I've only seen like 2 or 3 episodes. It's called IMO, which is also so cute, in my opinion. I just think it's adorable. Anyway, she said on Michelle Obama's podcast that she's finding that she doesn't like to date older men because a lot of them are really seeped in toxic masculinity. Now, this is something I literally said in my last episode, because my last episode, I talked about a recent cougaring dating situation with someone who is much younger than me. And I literally was talking about this whole idea of why I don't date men who are over 50. So go check it out. But one of the reasons that I said is because men over 50 don't tend to be as progressive. Like, one thing that drives me crazy these days in dating is I just really don't want to date anyone who has any little teeny tiny speck of homophobia or transphobia. I really just want to date an emotionally mature man who can say, even if they say, I don't necessarily agree with my lifestyle, but that's not my business. That's their life. I'm not gay, I'm not trans, but I support them to go be their own person. That's not even ideal for me. The ideal person would say, yeah, I'm an ally. I'm an ally to the gays and to the trans folks. Let's be allies together. Like, let's protect the most vulnerable people in our society. Like, that's what I would love. Like, if I met a man who was just like, let's be an ally together, boo. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm in love. I really have bonded really, really quickly because that's a high value for me personally. For me, I would love to meet a gay trans, LGBTQIA plus ally. That would be lovely. But I'm finding that when I'm meeting, the older a man gets, the less likely he is to even be accepting of gay and trans folks. The older he gets, the more he's not just an ally, he's an enemy. He's literally an enemy to the gay, trans, LGBTQIA plus family in general. And I look at them like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, you're really fucking kidding me. Like, you're going to look at me, someone who is obviously an advocate, someone who's obviously part of a marginalized community as a Black woman. You gonna look at me and have the nerve to talk poorly about a marginalized people group whose only desire it is to live in peace and mind their goddamn fucking business? Like, that's what you're going to do with your one precious little wasted life? Is talk poorly about people who want nothing more than to live freely. Bet. Anyway, that's just one thing. So if you can imagine when you meet people, which, by the way, if you're here and you're not an ally or a friend to, or if you're an enemy to the LGBTQIA plus people, I would just invite you to unfollow me. Unfollow me. Don't watch my podcast unless you're here to learn something. That's not really what I talk about because I'm not part of the community, but I am an ally. So just let me make that clear, because I don't fuck with y'all. I really don't fuck with people who cannot find grace and mercy in their heart to love people who are not like them. It really just frustrates me to no fucking end. No end. So if I meet a man who's hateful of marginalized communities, it's very easy for me to deduce that they also will have some misogynoir in their heart. Misogynoir is the hatred of Black women. If you're alive and breathing in America, you probably know that there's a good fair amount of Black American men who really do not like Black women. And they will date us. They will fuck us. They'll marry us. They don't like us, baby. They don't like us. It's not a far leap. If someone can't respect a marginalized community, they're not going to respect you. If they don't have empathy for marginalized communities, they're probably not going to have empathy for you as a Black woman. I could be tainted because my Black ass ex-husband hid his hatred of Black women, his homophobia and his transphobia from me until after we got married. He hid a lot of shit from me until after we got married. And then the full extent of his hate and dislike for all of those categories came out. Somebody might be like, Grace, you might be a little slightly bit traumatized. I might be. But I also do know that people who tend to have empathy for hurting people, even hurting animals, that empathy tends to extend out to other marginalized communities. People who have old school mindsets, particularly older Black men, will typically keep those hateful mindsets. And it spans out across a lot of different communities. And that's just one thing. But there's a lot of reasons women my age. Okay, let's actually break it down. Women who are in the 50s like Tracy, women in like me in our 40s, women in their 30s and women in their 20s are not fucking with older men. Because the thing is, a lot of these older men think because they have money, they can just run out and get themselves any little young coochie. But a lot of those young coochies, bro, they're using you. I don't know if you know this, but there's whole platforms. You know the sprinkle lady? The sprinkle lady. She exists to teach women of any age range How to use men for money. I fucking hate her. I think she's a fucking idiot, but that's what she does. And there's millions and millions and millions of women picking up tips and tricks about how to use these older idiots for money. Younger women are not checking for older men because they're in love. They're using them. These older men think I can get me a little young hot tamale any day. Bro, you can't get a hot tamale that's going to love you. If love and respect is what you really want, it's very rare, boo. That's why you're not getting those little young tamales who aren't trying to use you. Why you're not getting women in your 30s. Why you're not getting women like me in my 40s. Or women like Tracy in her 50s. And also Tracy's in the category outside of all this. She's Diana Ross's daughter. She's had a long, thriving, successful career. She's filthy rich. She comes from a good, healthy family. She's beautiful. She's childless. Like, she's in the category of her own. I almost don't even want to put her in the same category as me as a nobody. But I'm just saying, like, she could get a man, any man, 35,000 times faster than I could. Let's just say that. Not downing myself. I'm just trying to, recognize, like, we are in a different place socially, financially, stratospherically, in every way. But these older men, they don't have progressive value. Younger women and myself, me and Tracy, have done, years of work of pursuing and figuring out, like, what are the progressive values that we really hold dear? Whereas these younger generations, like Gen Z, these young millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, well, Gen Alpha is still really young, but these next generations, like, they don't have to search it out like Tracy and I did. They don't have to go to the library and look at the books, like, because we didn't have the World Wide Web. I grew up without the World Wide Web. I didn't really have access to the internet ongoing until I was married in my early 20s, y'all, okay? Older men hold very traditional, outdated views still, and they refuse to let it go. About control, about gender roles. They still want you to come fix their plate for them. Before you even get a chance to sit down, they're going to be eating their plate. There's an incompatibility, fundamental incompatibility with progressive values nowadays. Another thing, these older men are still signed up for, willingly, for the patriarchy. They're still here for the patriarchy. They're still gung-ho for the motherfucking patriarchy. And what's worse, they think that a woman like myself, who is trying to destroy, defeat, demolish, and abolish the patriarchy, they think we're wild and misbehaved and angry and terrible women. Which is great. It's actually entertaining. This is not rocket science. Women in their 50s, 40s, 30s, and 20s do not want to date a man with ingrained patriarchal views still. We don't want y'all motherfuckers, because y'all are going to be all about these subtle ass power imbalances that make living with you insufferable and intolerable, which is why y'all wives left you, why your third wife left you, why you don't have a relationship with your children. That's why you're alone on a dating app taking a fucking picture from a bad angle. That's why. And we show as fuck don't want you to limit our autonomy, which is what this tip to older men are on. Like, yeah, come on. It's 2025. Like, we can have our own bank accounts now, sir. We have credit cards in our names, sir. We have homes in our names, sir. We have cars in our names. We're building generational wealth. We have multiple degrees. We're taking care of our children. And you're going to try to limit my autonomy? Really? These older men like Shannon Sharpe, are practicing toxic masculinity. Shannon Sharpe has a case in 2004, an essay case in 2004, an essay case in 2012 or 2014. I forgot the year, but it was like more than a decade ago. She just, in light of this new situation with this 19-year-old, the woman from 2012 or 2014 just reopened her case, and she's representing herself apparently. And then in this recent case, for most of y'all know, it's troubling. The allegations are coming out are troubling as hell. Not to mention that she's 19, and yes, even though she's legal, he's 56. And all the aforementioned dynamics that I talked about older men and women who are teenagers. She was a literal teenager when they met. All that is present. But that's all toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity, if you don't know, includes emotionally repressing people, using your manhood and maleness to emotionally repress, to dominate, to be the aggressor, unnecessary aggression, and the objectification of women in general. Older men tend to have a much higher prevalence of this bullshit. And also, they're somehow less emotionally intelligent to know that they're doing it, but also somehow are worse at hiding it. Because sometimes men who are really good at being toxic masculine men, they can hide it, and the subtlety is what is kind of keeps them in the game. But like older men are just like, woman, get your ass over here and sit down. You're like, could you at least hide that you're a toxic man? You just gonna have it all out here in these streets. Like, y'all, you make it so easy. Y'all make it so easy to just move the fuck on. Generational differences. These boomers out here in these streets like Shannon Sharpe, these boomers are not emotionally intelligent, as I mentioned before. And emotional intelligence is like the new currency. One of the dating coaches on Hinge said that too. Like, emotional intelligence is what a lot of women want these days. And I would say that too. It is like the number one thing. Like when I meet girlfriends, you know, not to brag, but all my girlfriends are so emotionally intelligent. I just really tend to attract emotionally intelligent woman to woman relationships, and we love each other well. We talk to each other well. We hold space for each other's tears. We hold space for each other's sadness and depression. They don't say mean things to me. We don't deal with jealousy. And this is like literally all of my life. I've had the best good girlfriends. I've had some relationships end, but they're all really peaceful. And if they're not peaceful, and if I feel like there's jealousy or angst or weirdness or toxicity, I just exit it or they exit it. I just don't tend to keep women like that around. So I know it's possible. I've enjoyed it all my life. It's so easy to see when I meet men, particularly like 40, 45, 50, 55 and older, that they just don't have that gift. They have not developed it. The way that women are attuned to our emotions and figure out how to navigate that in relationships in a way that brings peace. Men just don't tend to do that work. A lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them. And that lack of emotional intelligence is glaring in older men. It's glaring. No one in 2025 wants to teach older men how to do that. I'll be damned. I will be damned if I'm gonna sit around and teach an older man how to be a good boyfriend to me. How to be a good boyfriend. Can you please just let me cry? Oh, that's funny. One thing I can say that I really love about Tracee, her comments, and myself and other women who are bringing awareness to this is that we have grown up with these more open conversations. It's mainstream now. Feminism is mainstream. Intersectional feminism is mainstream. And there is a heightened awareness out here in these streets. We know what problematic behavior is. I mean, I had a literal whole TikTok channel for a while. I don't focus on it anymore. But my whole TikTok channel for a while was focused on the signs of narcissistic abuse, signs of love bombing, signs you're trauma bonded. Women are out here in every social media platforming, giving wisdom and imparting wisdom on how to essentially survive cis heterosexual men. And I love that for us. I don't love the sprinkle lady and what she's doing, because I think teaching people to do evil things is in and of itself evil. It's literally like Kevin Samuels or other men of his ilk and other red pill men who are out here teaching men how to be evil to women. If there was a man who built a whole platform on teaching men how to basically just use and have sex with women, which I know there are, and I don't even want to say his name because we know the popular one. I really don't even want to utter his name. We know who he is. If you want to be a good human, and this platform is for people who want to be good humans. I would like to be a good human. I'm never going to teach y'all how to take advantage of another human and do harm to them. Even if you are the marginalized community, which this channel is for Black women. I'm a Black woman. I still don't think that the response to years of oppression and violence is to try to oppress in a different, more unique and modern way. Like, no. I love that right now in this current genre of women like myself, we really do prioritize relationships that are based on mutual trust, understanding. We really want equality. We want genuine partnership. We really want to be in relationships with our good girlfriends, with our gay guy friends, and with our romantic cis heterosexual dating partners that reflect equality and love and kindness. And Baby, these boomers, they're like, what? You want equality? What now? What? Also, these Gen Zs out here, okay, y'all, my kids, I have one Gen Alpha and two Gen Zs, and they are much more willing, them and all of their friends, these younger generations are much more willing to challenge traditional ish. You know, we have, y'all, we're in the age that the kids who endured school shootings are activists at 13, 14. Look at Greta, what's her name? Greta, the little white girl from whatever, where she is, the environmental activist. She's an activist when she was like 9. Like these Gen Z, Gen Alpha kids, they're like, we are not afraid to call out the bullshit of the generations before us. And I really think that nowadays, all of the generations of women are like, we are just not going to bend to pressure and be willing to accept a boomer or even a Gen Xer who is toxic to us. Like, we just not. And like I said about how I really don't like dating men who aren't LGBTQIA plus allies, this generation of women that's coming up in the world, especially the younger ones, they also want that same alignment. They want shared values, particularly around social and political issues. Did y'all see? There's a meme that I saw that, or actually wasn't even a meme. It was an article. I don't know where I saw it on Instagram. I saw the article, like the screenshot of the top of the article, but it basically said that there is a Trump donor or Trump people who work for Trump in DC or people who work at the White House, people who align with him are having a hard time dating in DC because no one wants to date them. I just thought that was so funny. I laughed so hard when I saw that. I was just like, that's because we don't want to date assholes. So yeah, I'm sorry for y'all that y'all literally chose to align with a fascist dictator and now no one wants to give you coochie. Sorry. That's what happens when you choose evil. And those aren't even older men. Y'all, those are men in their 30s. These are like men who, you know, went to Harvard and Yale and now they're working on a political campaign, working for Trump, and can't get coochie because nobody wants to align with a fascist dictator. These women nowadays, we're not playing with y'all. We are not here to play. We want gender equality. We want you to care about social justice issues. We want you to be inclusive. We want you to have a modicum of emotional intelligence. We want you to care about these things, not so that you can get coochie, but because you're actually just a good person. Yeah. And we just can't, I know I mentioned this earlier, but it cannot be underestimated, the impact that social media platforms and the fact that women are sharing with each other our experiences dating older men, our experiences dating men who are less emotionally unintelligent, our experiences just opting out of dating altogether. There's so many beautiful, thriving communities of women who are saying, I'm actually literally just happier opting out of being with any cishet men of any age range, just because of how much cishet men tend to, not all of them, siphon every good thing out of us. And I have experienced that too, y'all. I mean, I've literally been out here in these dating streets since my last serious relationship was in the summer of 2022. So it's been about almost 3 years that I have been not exclusive with anyone, really just dating around. I've been on dating apps. I've been trying to get to know men, you know. I haven't dated like a crazy amount, but at a steady clip. So I'll date a few people. I'll be in the talking phase with a few people. And then, you know, something will happen or I'll get a little bit past the talking phase. Like maybe 3 weeks tends to be right around the time that a man will start being disappointing and or toxic and or will realize it's not going to work because of big, huge differences or travel or whatever it is. Depending on how catastrophic the interaction is, depends on how long I'll go again before I can like get up the nerve. Because like Tracy said, and I really just vibed with her on this, like if you want to have a partner, me and her are really different because unlike her, I was married for 20 years of my adult life. And so I kind of feel very wore out on that. And I have 3 kids and I don't want any more. She had said in the episode with her and Michelle Obama that she feels a little bit of pain on the fact that she never decided to like settle down and get married. Not that she couldn't have, she decided not to. She decided not to have children, and she said, I'll sit with that, and then I'll decide, yeah, I would really like to have a partner, and then she'll go back out there and date, and then come up against the issues and pull back, which is exactly the cycle that I'm on too, except I might be a little bit more tired than Tracee, having had the experiences of marriage behind me, and particularly one of them, which was horrific domestic violence. It makes you tired in a big way. But one thing I've realized is that in dating around is that I've so often met up with men who are not even all the way like problematic. I definitely have come across some problematic as hell men, but I've also met some really good ones. I really feel like I've come across a good 5 to 6 to 7 to maybe even 8 good men that it just didn't work out with in this last year. So I can't even say like they were all terrible, they were all toxic, because no, I've really met some good ones, and some of them I'm still friends with. Like the guy who I was with in 2022, who we're no longer together, he's like one of my best friends now. Not sexual at all, we're just completely friends. We talk pretty regularly. We help each other out, with our situations of other people we're dating. It's completely platonic, and I love him as a friend. And he was a younger man. He turned 40 this year. But for example, he's someone who is much more progressive, and I love him as a friend. There is a number of men, most of the men I've dated actually went out on dates with and or slept with and or had anything significant with, I'm still friends with. And most of those men are all younger than me. And that's another big difference between the older men dating younger women. Usually it ends in a lawsuit, especially when you're someone like Shannon Sharpe and you're being accused of SA for the third time with the third woman. But like when older women date younger men, it's not predatory. It's usually about like, let's have a equal, mutually exclusive, mutually beneficial relationship / partnership, whether we agreed that it's going to be friends with benefits, dating, intimacy, let's fall in love, let's get married, like whatever the iteration is that it's decided upon. Almost all the men who I've dated in some way that's even tiny bit remotely like, wow, we in this, I'm literally still friends with. You could literally ask any of them, did Grace harm you? Did she try to use you? Did she try to use you for your money? Did she try to use you for sex? Did she do bad shit to you? Did she lie to you? Was she a fuck girl out here in these streets? Like they would all be like, no, Grace is my girl. She was the bomb, because that dynamic is just so different. It's so different. So while people really wanted to judge Tracee, I'm like, y'all, she's literally just wanting to be around men who aren't toxic. If you want to judge her for that, I guess. If you want to judge me for that, I guess. Go ahead and judge me for wanting to be around someone whose values align with mine, who actually knows how to treat me like a human, who actually possesses the qualities that I want in someone who I want to be around in my life. Like, okay, go ahead and judge me. Go ahead and judge me. I just think it's real fucked up that there's a lot of scrutiny around older women dating younger men versus older men dating younger women. The scrutiny should for sure be on older men dating younger women, because it's normalized in our society. It's even celebrated. Yeah, it's made fun of. Yeah, we all make fun of Leonardo DiCaprio because he don't date nobody older than 25. I would love Leonardo DiCaprio to do some sort of like live show with some therapist that's literally live and not edited. Like, what's going on with you? Because the thing is because I know my reasons, I don't even want to judge Leonardo. I just want to understand. For example, I will tell you, there was this one time, actually, this is really funny. There was one time a 19-year-old tried to talk to me. I met him on Hinge. He was 41. I'm sorry. His age on Hinge was 41. He was 19. And obviously in his pictures, I could see this man is not 41. For some reason on dating apps, there is this whole thing where it'll have your age wrong, and the dating apps will make it really hard to change. Like, I've come across this in multiple different dating apps. So I was like, I know his age is wrong. I can see with my eyeballs he's not 41. But I thought maybe he's like 28 or 29. This boy was 19 years old. But anyway, so I matched with him. And we got to start talking. And I was like, hey, I can see that you're clearly Not 41. Like, how old are you? The more we got talking, like, he didn't tell me, but the more we got talking, I could just tell from the way he was talking that he was a lot younger. I never met up with him, by the way, never went out with him, never slept with him, never nothing. Let me just be clear. But I did keep a conversation going with him in the app because I wanted to understand, like, what is it about you which later I found out he was 19. I was like, what is it about you that makes you want to talk to and date a woman who's 48? And first of all, he didn't want to date me. He just wanted to me. Okay, so let's just make that clear. I had no illusions that he wanted to take me out and buy me flowers, okay? He did end up telling me that his mom died when he was like 3 or 4 and that he had some significant mom trauma and that he wanted someone to take care of him. I actually appreciated his vulnerability. And, as a loving, kind, non-predatory woman, I was just like, hey, I thank you for telling me. I really think you should get some therapy and, figure that out because you're going to come across women who are going to use you, and who are going to take advantage of that vulnerability. And then after we had that conversation, he got kind of an attitude problem. And then I just blocked him because I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to become a therapist in the Hinge messaging. But the term cougar, which I've kind of jokingly referred to myself as because I have talked to and dated a few younger guys, and which, by the way, let me just state the ages. So there was one guy that I kind of talked to on and off for a good chunk of time. He was 34 when we met, and I was 45, I believe, when we first met. And then there was one guy who was 28 when we met, and I think I was 43 or 44. I don't remember, but I remember telling him like, wow, there's 18 years between us. Like, that's significant. And just saying like, I don't know. That was very, very, very brief. Very brief because, again, generationally, it's just so different. When I say I've cougared, I mainly mean me in my mid to late 40s talking to men who are in their mid to late 30s, most of them. I did have one significant relationship post my divorce where he was 38 or 39. And that's when at that point, I was a lot younger, younger than I am now. I was 42, 43-ish. I don't remember, but like for me, that was the first time I had ever talked to anybody in their 30s. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm talking to someone he's 30. I'm dating someone in their 30s. Oh my God. And I was in my 40s. And that was like such a huge deal. But now I'm like, whatever. When I say I've cougared and I'm cougaring, that's for me what I mean. And then at some point I just realized, like, because I've had some friends with benefit situations with somebody in their 20s. And at some point I realized even that is probably just not a good idea. Even if it's not for like long term or whatever, even though it's fun, like Tracy said, there is some perks to late 20s. There's definitely physical and sexual and financial perks to that age range, but it's not a good idea. But even so, there's still kind of like a negative connotation towards cougaring. And I have kind of just joked about it because I'm like, I don't really think it's a big deal when it's literally for the purpose of mutual, beneficial, respectful, kind, loving interactions that are consensual if it's sexual and a kind, healthy kind of partnership of sorts. If it's not that, it doesn't matter what age any of us are. Like this whole thing with Shannon Sharpe, like, yeah, it's kind of gross that she was 19 while he was 56. But at the same time, it's like, it wasn't consensual. She's accusing him of rape, essentially. If you look into it, she's accusing him of that. You hear audio of him talking about he's going to choke her and she does not have a choice. There's text messages, which I will not repeat here, that are graphic, that have come out with him detailing the essay that he's going to do to her. Besides, they had the race kink thing. Ugh, God. So anyway, that is a obvious example of that's not a healthy, kind, mutually loving, mutually beneficial anything. It doesn't matter how old they are. And he was married to a black woman before, I guess, and that ended with him dragging her out of the house by her hair or something like that. Speaking of cougering, got a text from the person I'm talking to right now who's younger than me, but again, in his 30s. I don't even really feel like that's cougering, but maybe some people would think that's cougering. since I'm 48. Another thing is that whereas women are typically more interested in like how to bring about positivity out of each interaction with someone we date, we're wired for connection. And that can manifest into like a positive partnership. Like, how can we help each other? Which is something that has come up with me in dating situations, no matter how old they are, which they're all younger. But like, how can we serve each other? How can we help each other? And in these older men, younger women dynamics, a lot of times it's about how can I control you and manipulate you? And it's pretty obvious. I will say, I don't want to make it seem like the older women, younger men dynamic is all shits and giggles, because as someone who has talked to and or dated men who were almost all of them younger than me, because of my own trauma, admittedly, which I will discuss in one moment here, but also because of all the reasons I already mentioned, I will say that one thing that I have realized is frustrating for me, which I talked about in my last episode, you should go watch it, on why I decided not to cougar quite as much is because I have been in a very similar situation where some of the men I've talked to have still wanted to get married and have kids. And it's been frustrating for both of us. One of my most significant relationships post divorce was this situation where we got together, and I was just like, yeah, he really, really wanted to have his own baby, and I was on board, because at that point when we met, I think I was 41 or 42, and I was like, even though I'm old to be having a baby, let's do this together. Let's do this. And then as time went on, like a year went by, and I was just like, man, I do not want to have a baby, and it became a heartbreaking thing for both of us, because I could tell he really, really, really wanted to have his own baby. And I just was like, I can't do that again. I literally cannot go through another pregnancy, not at 43. You know, it wasn't like the demise of our relationship, but it was certainly the beginning of the end. So he did, by the way, end up getting into a different relationship and now has a beautiful baby girl. And I'm really happy for him. But that situation really underscored for me how important it is to have that conversation. And I've dated at least the one or two men I've talked to somewhat seriously who wanted to have kids in the future. Like the one I talked about earlier, who was 35, that was a big reason why we didn't move forward, because he was just like, I would want us to have kids together. And I'm like, I cannot ever give that to you. And that was the end of it. So it's not all shits and giggles, but I did want to just bring up why for me, I do have an issue that is an actual serious issue. I do have significant trauma because around my dad, which I did not realize until really recently, I think in the last year, I realized this, but my dad was 44 when I was born. Okay. So I was born to older parents. Both of them were older. And when my dad started abusing me, he probably was about 40, I would say 46 or so. And then he abused me the first 10 years of my life. So that would put him at between 44 and 54. The first 10 years of my life, he was SAing me. And so when I was 10 years old, my dad was 54. And I remember very clearly what he looked like at all stages of the SA. And what does he look like? An older, aging man. And so when I realized that, my therapist helped me come to that conclusion, because we were talking about this and I was just like, sometimes I do want to talk to older men, ones that don't seem like they're toxic. And I feel an ick, like the ick, I really shouldn't use that word, because that implies that it's lighthearted. Like, because some people will be like, oh, he had on a pink shirt and it used a Velcro wallet and I got the ick. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally like triggered, like an actual trigger. And I was like, I'm literally grossed out. And my counselor asked me about that. And I was like, oh shit. And then I realized like, yeah, that's part of it for me. I'm definitely grossed out by kind of like the signs of aging in a man between 45 and 55. And it's not about like anything shallow. It's literally kind of triggered. I'm literally kind of triggered. So I am working through that, because it's like, I'm getting older. Eventually I'm going to want to date someone in their 50s who's got like saggy balls. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, all balls are kind of saggy, right? It feels like they all are, no matter what age, but whatever. Y'all get what I'm saying. So I think for me, there are some other reasons, but that still falls kind of low on the totem pole, because I can still look at a man who's like Denzel and other older black men, because I'm just primarily attracted to black men in general, and still look at them, men who are 55, 60, and be like, damn, like they look fine as fuck. Like an older balding black man with like gray in his beard, a connected beard. They look really, really, really good to me. So I still feel it, but once they start talking, then I'm like, please just shut the fuck up. Please. And again, I say please. The lesson here for us, ladies, since this podcast is for women and particularly for Black women, I think is we have to figure out what we feel comfortable with and do what the fuck we want. I know that there's people who are like, oh my God, Grace is cougering. She's a cougar. I know there's people who think it's funny. Probably there's people who think it's cringy, although nobody's told me. And I just decided like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not hurting anyone. No one is accusing me of manipulating them or essaying them or anything else because I'm not that person, or even using them because I don't do that. If I wanted to use an old man for money, I could have done it a long time ago. But I think we have to do what is right. What is right. And that's really not up for grabs. Figure out what you value and do what is right. And do what is good for you and good for other people. And really let the haters talk. Like, I don't think Tracee Ellis is sitting at a coffee shop crying because people have misunderstood her. Maybe she is. She's probably like, oh my God, I literally just don't want to date toxic old men. And I just say more power to you, Tracee. Like, more power to you. Your girl, I got your back. I mean, I didn't make this for Tracee. I made it for the rest of us who aren't super wealthy and super beautiful and in this whole other stratosphere. But what I love about what she said is that she has a big, full life. She has wonderful friendships. She's a very embodied woman is what she said. And I feel like that too. Like, I love my friendships. I love my children. I love a lot of aspects of my life, and I'm trying to upgrade it in a lot of areas. And when I think about upgrades, I don't think that a man is what's going to upgrade my life. So I might as well be around the ones who are really aligned with me, who really I feel comfortable around, who really treat me really well. The ones who choose me, the ones who I choose and who choose me back, the ones who we share like a mutual kindness and mutual affection and mutual respect. And we care to make each other's life better. Like, that's who I'm going to be around, whether that man is 28 or 32 or 36 or 38 or 44 or 48 or 52. And all I'm saying is that I just haven't found anyone over 44 who fits that category at all. And it's not like I ain't been looking. And the last guy I dated who I was really excited about, like someone who I dated recently who I was really excited about, I think I may have even like really fully fell in love with him, even though we never live in the same city. We never did more than tongue kiss. We never slept together. And I respected him so much. I thought he was a good guy. He presented as a good guy. I thought he was a good guy. And then he hurt me in such a malicious, unkind way. And then as a result of that happening, I found out that essentially for the whole last year that we were in a talking stage on and off, he was lying to me about having a girlfriend. He had a girlfriend the whole time. The whole time that we were talking, and he was 44. And I just thought like, wow, that's so toxic. I would expect that from a 54-year-old. Like, I did not see that coming at all. Didn't see that coming at all. And he was 44. It just goes to show, like, you just never know. Be safe out here in these dating streets. I wish I could wrap up this episode in a pretty bow, but I really can't because the cisheads, so many of them are so toxic no matter what age they are. And I'm just really like having to believe that one day I will find someone that is good for me, and we're at an age stage and generationally like in line, and that, you know, we can have somewhat of a happy life, even if it's not like longevity. I don't think longevity is necessarily a hallmark of a healthy relationship, but we can have a good life together. But anyway, y'all, be safe, do what makes you happy, and ignore these haters. Okay, that's where we are at. Before I go, let me just tell you this episode is sponsored by Grace. Actually is a book that I wrote, actually, Memoirs of Love, Faith, Loss, and Black Womanhood. If you appreciate my voice and my stories, this book is literally memoirs of my stories of love, faith, loss, and Black womanhood. And I'm hoping to start a second one soon, but this is available on Amazon in a hard copy like this, or you can get it in a digital copy and read it on your Kindle, in the Kindle app on your phone or your iPad. I have a newsletter on Substack called Out Here Thriving, and it covers 6 areas. So if you appreciate, again, my voice and my writing, I'm going to be starting that soon. It's going to cover Soulful Sundays, Mindful Moments, Body Beautiful, Grown Woman Wisdom, A Creative Corner, Creative Sparks-ish, and Community Connections. I also have a Facebook group, and the Facebook group is a little bit dormant right now. I don't know what I'm doing it, but if you want a space to talk about stuff that I talk about on this episode, I'll leave the link for the Facebook group. It's called the Out Here Trying to Survive Podcast Community Group. It's completely free. Everything I do right now is free except for my book. However, if you appreciate this podcast and want to support, you can support me on Patreon or become a paid member on Substack. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. You could be anywhere, but you're here, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you for listening. Please leave me a comment. Let me know where y'all are at. How old are you? How old do you date? Did you have an age range up? Do you have an age range down? Let me know. Let's talk. Anyway, thank you for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Bye.